served on that note. But here's the crazy thing about this. What if that perpetrator who violated the kid of Cain Velasquez ends up going free because of insufficient evidence?
All right. And with that, do not forget to like and subscribe, and also watch until the end for some shocking details. Before we talk about one of the greatest heavyweights to have ever set foot in the octagon, let's talk about a video that I want to redirect you guys to later on, right after this one. It is my Tom Aspinall and John Jones video where I talk about how this fight is coming a lot closer than what we would have expected. For a long time, I would have thought that maybe John Jones was going to duck, being that Tom Aspinall is such a dangerous fighter, a very dangerous stylistic matchup. But it seems that this is coming to fruition. So stay tuned for that one. And also, let's get back to the Cain Velasquez video right now.
Believe it or not, some of the most dangerous people on earth that I'm afraid of personally are the ones that don't necessarily have mixed martial arts skills or any type of fighting skills at all. In fact, this is the reason why Cain Velasquez did exactly what he did, because he wanted to extract revenge in the worst way possible. And quite frankly, can you blame him? But the other the other nuances of this particular incident is the fact that Cain Velasquez did endanger innocent people around him. Now, I know that's not a very popular take to have, but we have to give the news as according to how the law is going to see fit in terms of their sentencing, in terms of why Cain is facing exactly what he's facing right now. Now, look, what a lot of people don't understand about this whole entire incident is that Cain Velasquez really tried to go with the, how do I say this? The procedures of the law. And how I know this is because the man who was accused of this particular matter was taken into custody only to be released later on. Now, you got to ask yourself, what does that send as a message to society? That you can commit a heinous crime like this, right? And I don't even want to mention it, obviously, for monetization purposes, right? But we know what happened. We know what happened to Cain Velasquez's kids, and we now know what is the result of it. Well, the problem with this particular incident is that, yes, he did hit innocent people along the process. Look, the person that he was targeting during a car chase was somebody that was a relative of the perpetrator. Now, does that make it right? No. But can we understand where Cain Velasquez is coming from? 100%. Yeah, we can absolutely understand where Cain Velasquez is coming from with this particular incident. But we have to talk about the nuances of this situation. Many people are just going to look for virtue signaling points and say, well, how can you say anything less other than free Cain? I understand that. But as a content creator, as somebody who is in the forefront of MMA news and things of that nature, you have to give an objective take. But don't get it twisted, because I would have done the same thing that Cain Velasquez would have done. Although I will say, why is it that a man who is so highly dangerous with his hands, a guy who beat up Brock Lesnar, okay, let's put that in context, okay? Let me tell you something. Brock Lesnar was one of my heroes growing up. And when he fought Cain Velasquez, man, let me tell you, I was very excited for that fight because Cain Velasquez is a Northern California guy. Brock Lesnar was a guy that that I looked up to for a long time, even in the days of my middle school wrestling, all the way throughout high school. I've known about Brock Lesnar. And by the way, shout outs to the NCAA wrestling tournament that just passed right now. Probably one of the best NCAA tournaments of all time. Cain Velasquez was also a part of that entire tournament. Obviously not as big as the way that it is now with the likes of Gable Stevenson being all up in the mix. But that's neither here or there. When he beat Brock Lesnar, I was like, wow, you know what? This is the start of Cain Velasquez's superstardom. afterwards, he went on to George Lopez's show, talking about his win, talking about his victory, but also sort of taking a dig at Cain Velasquez. I'm sorry, Cain Velasquez taking a dig at Brock Lesnar for some of the racial, uh, undertones that he was sort of displaying all throughout the fight, saying that he was going to eat a burrito and have a Corona right after the fight or this and that, only for Cain Velasquez, wittingly enough, going into George Lopez's show eating a peanut butter sandwich with milk, which I don't know what is that supposed to symbolize. I mean, is that supposed to somehow make fun of the gringos in some kind of way? But either way, Cain Velasquez became a superstar from then on. And then afterwards, like most athletes, like most wrestlers, okay, the injuries started piling up. Obviously, we seen the end of his career during the Francis Ngannou fight, and then he just went downhill from there. He went on and retired with no shame to his game whatsoever, right? Uh, but then, obviously, his kid, he had to go send him to daycare, this and that. He was being violated, and well, you know what? Like most fathers would, he did exactly what any of us would have done, but unfortunately, he got caught, and the judge. By the way, it switched. Okay, this is what I know so far. The judges switched up. Okay, so in other words, the original judge was supposed to give him a much heftier sentence. Okay, they were going to throw the book at him. They were going to bury him. But now he served about 1,000 days, some odd, in prison. They're going to account that. So now they're sentencing him to 5 years, accounted from all the other prison time that he's already done. And well, we're talking about maybe 1 year and a half. So maybe somewhere in the middle of 2026 or just right at the end of 2026, he may be released. And that's about it. But I will say, prison wise, what's going to happen now with Cain Velasquez being in prison? Okay, so he's going to be in a protective custody based on the fact that he is a high profile figure. Now, Cain Velasquez is not a gang member. He's not a person that owes any particular street or prison organization their time or their service or anything of that nature, right? He is a civilian. He is a high profile athlete. Even rappers who have gang affiliations that go into prison, what happens to them? They don't really go into main lines most of the time. I mean, they can request it, but oftentimes get denied based on their high profile um, portfolio. So they have to put them in protective custody, and Cain is not going to be any different. However, I will say that he is going to have the support of many people there. Obviously, if you guys know anything about California prisons, there's a racial element that comes into that. The blacks hang out with the blacks, the whites hang out with the whites, and the Mexicans hang out with the Mexicans. And then there's the other, for whatever that means in your own interpretation and to anybody's interpretation of that part of the world. But either way, he's going to be respected in there, not only with all of the gangs and all of the prison politics that are involved in it, but also with the CEOs as well. Not CEOs, COs, sorry. But yeah, he's not going to have any problems in there because let me tell you something. If there's one thing that's going to collaborate police and criminals together, it is going after child molesters, right? That's just really what it is. Now, Cain is no different than that. He's obviously a hero in the sports world, in the MMA world, and they're going to treat him as such. But at the same time, they're also going to treat him as a person that has these special circumstances based on the situation that followed him. Look, so I'm very sad by this whole thing, but honestly, this was the best case scenario for Cain Velasquez. Why is that? Because obviously they were planning on throwing 20 years on him. Now, what had happened if, let's say, he went and fired these shots and killed somebody in the process? Well, unfortunately, what would have happened was that he would have gotten 30 years to life, okay? And that would have been the worst case scenario. And by the way, the previous judge was planning on doing exactly that. not exactly the best choice, not exactly the more favorable choice by the majority of the population that is obviously behind Cain Velasquez right now. But shout outs to Khabib, shout outs to AKA, shout outs to everybody that helped along the way to give Cain Velasquez the best case possible, and even the judge. Now, you're probably wondering, well, why should we thank the judge? Because he's obviously getting some prison time, and the best case scenario would have not been given any prison time at all. Well, they still have to do their job. They still have to act in accordance to their social contract, just like any gang member, just like any law enforcement, just like any military personnel. They have to act within a social contract of what is in front of them and the rules that they live by. And obviously, if you are endangering society in any kind of way, this is the course of action that they have to take. It is unfortunate. I don't agree with it because obviously I have a different idea of what social contract should be followed, but that's not the world that we live in. But all I can say is I hope that because Donald Trump is the president right now and he is the UFC president, right? Basically a president who loves the UFC and loves its athletes and things of that nature. I hope he can intervene and create some kind of a pardon to free Cain Velasquez, because that right there is also the best case scenario. I don't think personally Cain Velasquez should have done any prison time whatsoever, but this is the reality of the justice system that we have in the West. And unfortunately, we really turn a blind eye to pedos and nunces, as they say in the UK, right? We really turn a blind eye to these situations. I don't think that we should. And I think that we really should pay attention to these particular things and also take action. Now, look, take a look at the Kendrick Lamar and the Drake situation, right? Kendrick Lamar just does a diss track insinuating certain type of behavior of Drake, and we just sweep it under the rug. It's on to the next week. Okay, he says it in a Super Bowl in front of everybody in the world. Nothing is being done about it. No investigations, no follow-up or anything like that. We just move on to the next thing. And that is the unfortunate thing. Now, the fortunate thing for this situation is that the accuser of this heinous crime, the one that violated Cain Velasquez's kid, has a trial coming up. So perhaps maybe justice will be served on that note. But here's the crazy thing about this. What if that perpetrator who violated the kid of Cain Velasquez ends up going free because of insufficient evidence? Now, that's the scariest part of all, but not the best case scenario. However, for Cain Velasquez, this was the best case scenario. And that is all that I have for this one. Don't forget to like and subscribe. I'll see you in the next one.
MMA needs, if you want to find predictions, news, and everything that deals with MMA, shout outs to Kyrie, Abu El-Kheer MMA, Sacramento, California, represent.
That's right, Kyrie. I appreciate you, my nigga. You came in here, you was talking that shit. That's right, bro. Much love, Flo. I appreciate you for always stepping in, bro. Be safe out there. Man, my nigga Kyrie, my man Kyrie came through. He started talking that shit. Hey, here's the thing. Here's the thing. That nigga will whoop your fucking ass. You would think that nigga's all squared up and all that type of shit. Nigga come through and beat your fucking ass. Like, man, fuck you up. You will never see it coming. So for those of y'all